evening. How are you?
In the word. Want everybody a few minutes to come in. It's almost 7 o'clock. We are in 2 Kings chapter 6. Someone will be so kind to drop that in the comments. 2 Kings chapter 6, and we're going to be looking at verses 8 through. Wow. Let's see here. Probably through
23.
Again, we are in 2 Kings chapter 6. We're going to be looking at verses 8 through 23. Welcome everyone in person as well as those of you who are joining Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if this is your first time hanging with us, welcome and welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us. You could have been doing anything else, but you decided to come hang with us. 2 Kings chapter 6. Then you don't have to, let me know if there's any questions or anything. You don't have my time. All right, let us pray. Dear God, we thank you once again for this opportunity to come into your presence to hear your word. Lord God, it is my prayer that you open every ear to hear, every heart to receive all that it is that you would have for us to receive. And dear God, I'll be so careful to give you all the honor, glory, and praise because I recognize that it all belongs to you. And so, Lord, as we ask every Sunday and Tuesday, that is to exceed our expectation in this time of sharing.
Yes.
And so, Lord, I ask that you anoint me afresh and that you empower me.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Easy. And so your servant says tonight, speak, Lord, for your servants are listening. Show up, show out, I know you can. And it is in Jesus' name that I pray this prayer. Really under the sound of my voice, we say amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Again, we are in 2 Kings. Everybody have it? 2 Kings chapter 6.
Yes.
June. Slow down now. Dropping it all.
2 Kings chapter 6. Sunday, we opened up this text with, I preached from the subject of, y'all remember?
Uh-oh, come on now.
The right, no, that's our vision for the church. Oh. What I preached on Sunday was the right response to trouble. The right response to trouble. But tonight, we'll touch a little bit on that, but why don't we just see where we end up? How about that? Sunday we talked about the right response to trouble. How many of us know that there is a right response to trouble? Because oftentimes, especially with regards to this narrative tonight, it is where I think some translations have the word Aram, or in the King James it has Syria. So basically Syria or Aram has waged war against Israel. And they have waged wars, but prior to engaging in that war, usually a nation or a king would have conversations with his council, okay? And or his other leaders, and they would talk about, the best way to go about this attack. Well, the king of Syria had been talking to his group, and so, because basically what they wanted to do is they wanted to do a unexpected attack, and they wanted to do it like in a place that was unsuspecting to Israel. Are you with me? And so when the king of Syria would tell the people, this is where we're going to set up our camp. Well, unbeknownst to him, God would reveal to the prophet Elisha, not Elijah, Elisha, his plans, and then Elisha would tell his leader what the opposing side's plan was, where they were going to be. Well, this kept happening. So much so to where the king of Syria, or Aram, was beginning to think that somebody in his camp was telling his business, right? Was telling, or what do you call that, espionage, right? And so he began to think that it was somebody inside their camp going back telling, leaking the information. And it wasn't until somebody from his camp said, no, ain't nobody doing that from over here, but there is somebody over in Israel by the name, it's a prophet by the name of Elisha, who is doing this telling. Let's look at it. Okay, so let's look at verse 12, and it says, and one of his servants says, none, my lord, O king, but Elijah, the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And with that word bedchamber, in other words, what he's saying, he's the one that tells everything, because when we think about bedchambers, that's your private place, your intimate place. Basically, he's saying he knows things that we shouldn't be knowing, that other people shouldn't be knowing, like your secrets. And so he says, no, look at 12, he says, the prophet that is in Israel, tell the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. So then the king, in response to this information, he says, go spy out and find out where he is. And then, he says, go, look at verse 13, and it says, go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. So basically, he wants to know where he is because he's going after him. Because he's tired of him. He's angry. He's already waging war against the country, but he's really, really angry with him because every time they try to set up camp, or every time they try to bust a move, information is getting back to the king and is spoiling their plans. Isn't that amazing how God will see somebody plotting against you, and he reveals to you what that plot is, and it spoils the plan of the enemy. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, it
is.
is.
And so,
Great it is. Yes.
So sometimes we just take time to thank God for that. That the enemy didn't get to do what the enemy tried to do.
Right.
Okay? And so, from there, they find out where he is. They get information, oh, he's in Dothan. And Dothan is believed to be at least 12 miles away from the capital city of Israel, which was Samaria. Okay? And so, he's mad, and guess what? He pulls up his whole military army. Because it says, look at verse 14. It says, therefore sent he thither horses, chariots, and a great host, and they came by night and compassed the city about. So, you mean to tell me you needed to bring all those folks, you need to send all those folks after one man? They didn't come to Dothan to fight Israel. They came to Dothan to get Elisha. That's how mad hell is about us. That is how mad the enemy is about us. We just poor little me, but he'll launch an attack on us where it's like overly doing it. And so he done sent all of this military, he done sent the horses and the chariots, and when you pull the chariots out, that's like the real powerful machinery of your military when you pull the chariots out, right? And so he has the horses, the chariots, and a great host, and they came by night because, again, they're trying to do a surprise attack on him because why come out night? Why not come broad daylight? So they came by night, and then they compassed her. They circled the city about. And so what we see here is the enemy's mad. And now we see that trouble has now showed up, if you will, on Elijah's doorstep. Because now they didn't go to Samaria. They went to Dothan. Because their focus, he understood that Elijah is privy to some intelligence, and I got to get rid of him in order to be able to even beat Israel. I can't beat Israel because every time I make my plan, this dude messing things up. So I got to get rid of him. You wonder why the enemy is attacking you the way that he's trying to attack you? Is because you are powerful. You are powerful. Okay. So he's on that night. So then Elijah has a servant that assists him. And so when he gets up in the morning and goes out into the city, he realizes, oh my goodness. Remember what we talked about Sunday? His response to trouble was, let's look at it. Look at verse 15. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? I think who has the NIV? Does it say, oh no? Mm-hmm. Who has the, read it. Does it say, oh no?
Oh no, my Lord. What shall we do? The servant
Isn't that
asked.
where it has the exclamation mark? So when you see the alas, that means, oh no, my master, that's an emotion. When you see an exclamation mark after a sentence, that means something. That's a strong statement, right? So he was like, when he sees this, he's like, oh no, my master. Which is similar to us when we respond when something unexpected hits our life. All I know is, all of a sudden today ain't what it was yesterday. Here I am, I'm stepping out and I'm probably going to get me a cup of coffee. I don't know if they drank coffee back then. But he was on his way to do something, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here's this great military surrounding the city. Ready, bringing the smoke, ready. And so this has the servant so scared that what comes out of his mouth is, oh no. I told him on Sunday, some people would use cuss words. Some people would turn around and be like, I'm out of here. And so that is how the servant responded to trouble. Because that is trouble, right? And you say big trouble? Massive trouble? Have you ever been in trouble?
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh, you know what I used to, you know what my Jack gonna say, did you do that, Daddy? You know what I used to hate? Many of y'all might hate this too. Ooh, you wait till your daddy.
Weeds.
Ooh, you wait until, oh yeah, you don't get it. Oh, as soon as your dad get home. One time she had you sit on them steps until your dad get home.
Sit there till you fall asleep.
Because you knew that if she had to call dad, you was in not trouble. I was already in trouble with her. But when you say dad, you really in trouble.
For real trouble.
And guess what? Clark be sitting on the steps like, oh, I hope this is the night that he stays out all night.
Looking out the window.
And then what's torture is every time Clark sit on the steps, and the steps was by across from my bedroom, and my bedroom was next to the bathroom. So every time she would walk to the bathroom, she always had something to say. Oh yeah, Oh, you want to play with the teachers at school? You want to say this? I mean, she just reminds you of what you did every time she walked past you. And so your heart is constantly beating. Oh, your sister was a sister.
Oh yeah. Cop the gun.
Wait till you go, oh, he gonna wear your butt out. Oh, she answered up.
Oh yeah.
My heart already coming through my chest. And then you sit there, because you don't know what time he's coming home. And so when you go to nod off, she makes sure, oh no, don't go to sleep now. You went to sleep when you was in them classrooms doing what you was doing. I don't know if y'all had a mama like that's the kind of mama I had.
Please.
Tremble.
Go out there to dead it like that.
But let me tell you,
That's
and this is a
worse.
side note. I think this is a Southern thing because when we get in trouble, if your parents is from down south, why y'all gotta get on the phone and call down south to tell them what we doing here up here in Columbus? And remember, they can call us the Columbus City Slickers, the city, because they always think that when you're from the city, people that grew up in the country think that city folks are slick city slickers. They call them city slickers. But why y'all got to get
Everybody in
on
Marshville
the
know.
phone and call Big Mama and Nana and all them and tell them everything that you done done?
Everybody Marshville.
Yeah, everybody. And everybody knows you better get a whipping. So that, my response to trouble was anxiety. My response to trouble was scared. I was scared. I was fearful. I'm worried. I'm looking out the window that I can see, and every time that I hear a car come past, the heart just beats faster. And then when the car blows by, you have a little bit of relief.
You wasn't scared you was picking at some cake.
Right. See, she's still saying that.
That
But
great
here's the
Lincoln
thing.
pull up.
Eventually, that Lincoln would pull up because it had a sound. And when it would pull up, heart was like this. And then,
Countdown.
when you hear the door of the car shut,
Countdown.
heart is still pumping. And then you hear the footsteps pumping. And then she's supposed to be up in there watching Dukes of Hazzard. She comes out. I can tell Dad what happened. Why do you got to come down here and tell
That's
me?
what you waiting on.
Uh-oh.
That's what you waiting
So
on.
we're talking about response to trouble. That was my response to trouble. Or maybe you was that kid in school where your teacher says, okay, I'm getting ready to call your mom or your dad. First you up on the desk, do-de-do-de-do-de-do. But then as soon as they pick up the phone and says, Johnny up here jumping on the table, Johnny starting to sit down and acting like he got some sense because he's scared. So that's a response to trouble. Or what is your response when, no. What's that not? Sure.
That's the police.
Who?
That's the
Sheriff
police.
Department. Because if anybody, I remember I was talking to my cousin one time, and I had already had some words with somebody over the phone or something, and then about maybe 20 minutes later, I'm on the phone with my cousin, I'm hearing, and I didn't have to say, who is it? I didn't have to say, hold on, Gina, let me go see who that is. I told her, hold on, I'm here to go fight. Because I understood, when you hear that banging, that means trouble has
Yes,
come
and it's
to
on
your
your way.
door. And my response to that trouble was, let's go.
And Jackson, huh?
But that was somebody I was going to fight. But what do you do when the law...
Lord knocks on the door. That's right.
Back door.
What do you do?
I don't know what I know.
Or what do you do when the law brings Johnny or Susie to the door?
Don't walk. Skate with me.
Oh, I forgot about that. You gonna tell that? Or what about when, back in the day, remember when we used to go to the skate rink, North skate rink, East skate rink? This is Columbus, Ohio stuff.
You getting off topic.
We had normally when we hit the skating rink, we would just go and hope that we get a ride home. Well, my brother and Robin and their friends, they went skating. They didn't even tell me because I could have probably stole a car back then and got you home. I could have stole Mom's car and got you home. But they went skating and didn't tell me, so I couldn't even help them. They don't have no ride, so they walking on the freeway. So the police brings them home. And I'm sure when the police was bringing David up to our door, I'm sure his heart was... That was his response to trouble.
Definitely going the wrong way.
So there's many things, again,
We have our
I'm
GPS
sure that when you heard that knock at the door, it startled you because it was unexpected. I don't think none of us plan and say, you know what, I'm going to do this, and by the time we get to here, I should be in trouble. Nobody plans for trouble. Trouble sometimes just happens. Or what about if you had a slick mouth and somebody's sister or brother come on down your house and invite you out to the street? Trouble.
Oh, I ain't heard that.
Yeah. Or what about when you just skipped your bond? Oh, I know I'm talking to somebody tonight. You done had a family member skip the bond, and here come the bounty hunters kicking your door in, looking for Uncle. What name on him? Uncle Tony. Hmm? Uncle Bobo. Trouble. Or what about when the phone call comes from the doctor after you've gone and had tests, and it's not good news? You're having trouble with your health. And it could be multiple things that you're dealing with health-wise. Or trouble with your finances. Or what happens when they garnish your wage and you kind of knew that you was a little bit in some trouble and you kind of figured that one day it might happen, but what happens when it shows up? When you get your paycheck and the math ain't mathing. And so we see here where trouble has shown up in Jotham, and we see here a response, and that response is, oh no. Basically, he is afraid. And some trouble causes us to be afraid. He didn't know what to do. Only thing he knew what to do, it's almost like, you ever got chased by a dog out of nowhere? Right? You don't have time to really process it, right? Your adrenaline is going on. You're just like, oh my God, you're trying to figure out how can I get out of this? And so look, his response was, oh no. And so as we look down here, then he says, how shall we do? I think in some translation it says, what shall we do? Is that what the NIV says? What shall we do? What shall we do? And sometimes that's what after the initial fear sets in, and then we're wondering, first it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What, oh no. And then next it's like, what do I do? What, y'all ever been in that situation like, oh,
Yes.
what do I do? And sometimes fear can be it can be paralyzing to the point to all you can do is freeze. You're stuck. And the only thing that you got is you and your thoughts. And all you're doing is pining over and over and over again, trying to figure out what do I do? And what do you do when you don't know what to do? Because right now, think about this. The trouble wasn't just a straight shot in front of him, because you could hit and run backwards, or cut to the right, cut to the left. But what do you do when trouble is surrounding your whole entire life? You turn here, trouble with my finances. I turn here, trouble with my health. I turn here, trouble with my children. I turn here, trouble with my spouse. I turn here, trouble with the students, trouble on my job. Trouble. You can't turn here, because if this is trouble with your health, you turn here, oh shoot, I can't deal with health because I'm dealing with this boy. Or I'm dealing with this girl. I can't turn here to deal with her because she in trouble or he in trouble with the courts. But my money's already messed up. I can't even help this one.
Don't help it.
Trouble. All
Don't
around.
help it. Oh yeah.
There ain't nothing, and ain't nothing like doing or not being able to help your kids.
Yeah.
Or have any control over your health. No control over your fire. Nothing. You can't put this fire out. You can't even go over here to try to put this fire out because you got something going on. Everywhere you look, you got something going on. Y'all know that, y'all ever been to Chuck E. Cheese or a game place? You know those things that pop up and you have the game is you have to try to hit them after they come. And at first when the game first starts, you can handle it. Have you ever seen those things where they have these things and the goal is for you to keep punching them down and not allowing it to overwhelm you to where you can't hit them all. Well, the game starts off slow. And sometimes that's how the enemy comes. He comes in slow, and for a minute, oh, I can put this fire out. Oh, I can put this one out. I can put this out. But then, when it starts speeding up and you're still trying to put things out, but eventually it will come so fast to where you're going to miss some things.
When
Yeah.
you do this, sit down.
So he has trouble there's trouble all around him. There's no way out. Because when you would come into a city, there's only one way in and one way out. And so they got the city surrounded. So even if you thought, there is no way I can leave. So here's the thing. So he says, what shall we do? So there's times in our lives where we don't know what to do. We are like that servant. Can we say he don't know what to do? Because he's asking, he's looking to Elijah, and he's saying, what shall we do? And sometimes we need to get to the place to where we trying to pretend like we are the superhero of the family, superhero in the marriage, superhero on the job, superhero, the super mother, the super father, all of the above. We need to get to the place to where we say, I don't know what to do. What shall we do? Sometimes we need to quit faking like we got it all together or we know everything. Sometimes we need to help. What shall we do? I'm surrounded by all this stuff, and it's because when you're surrounded by a lot of stuff, can it be overwhelming? But many of us as Christians, we still try to.
Oh, oneself.
I'm cool. Carrying our bags and wearing our nice clothes and stuff. Doing good and well. The bill collectors. Well, not necessarily knocking. You know, they'll call. We straight sending them voicemail. Instead of saying, I don't know. How do I get out of this? What do we do? What do I do to get out of this problem? He's looking to Elijah. He's like, what shall we do? And it's okay to ask somebody for help. It's okay to look to somebody and say, what shall we do? Because guess what? Elijah does have the answer. But sometimes our pride gets in the way because we don't want nobody to know what's going on in our lives. But if you don't talk to Elijah, you gonna get jacked up, servant. Because you can't deal with all this that's around you. And guess what? Elijah is in the same situation as the servant is in. They're both surrounded. The whole entire city of Dothan is surrounded. And so sometimes we're embarrassed. Our pride won't let us ask for help. But think about them. They're going through the same thing. They got the same challenges. But Elijah has the answer. Any questions, comments? And so, when the servant of the man of God had, okay, so when he arose and he saw that oh my God, my master, oh no, how shall we do? And this is what Elijah says. He first tells him, he says, fear not. That's the first thing he said to him. Get your emotions in control. Pull it together. He recognizes he didn't dog him, be like, you're supposed to be a Christian. We as Christians, we ain't supposed, he didn't hit him with a whole bunch of scripture. He says, fear not. He understood his servant is scared. He understood it. He didn't judge him for him. How could you be fearful? How could you? You ain't supposed to be like this. You know, sometimes what we can do is we can point fingers and judge him.
Right.
Or talk down to him. Now you know you ain't got no business being scared. You okay, man? Quit being, he didn't say, quit being a punk. That would have been my response. But don't listen to me. Quit being a punk. He says, fear not. Because in order for you to deal with this trouble, you first got to steady your emotions. You got to calm yourself down. Because obviously, both are looking at the same situation, but Elijah's response seems to be calmness because he's not panicking or fearful. So he tells his friend, fear not. So there's times in our life where we need that person to tell us, Kelly, fear not. Don't be afraid. And I think we can receive it better when we, instead of going to somebody and saying, quit being a punk, sometimes when you just put your hand on somebody in the center of somebody's back and just rub it and just say, fear not, that's soothing right there. He says, fear not. In other words, don't be afraid. And then he moves on and says, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. So he tells them, because this is Elisha's response to the trouble, which is in contrast to the servant, because the servant is freaking out. Elijah is cool as a cucumber. He says, those who are with us is more than them that are with them. And you would think, this is the prophet, this is the man that he's been serving. He's seen the prophet in action before. And you would think that Elijah telling him, fear not, because there's more with us than with them, you would think that that would be enough. But the next step is the indication that it wasn't enough for the servant. Because then it says that Elijah prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see. If he's telling him there's more with us than with them, if that would have satisfied the servant, there would no need for him to go to the next step where he has to ask him, where he's petitioning God to reveal it, to open his eyes to see it. Sometimes people don't believe what we are telling them.
That's true.
He's trying to convince the servant of what is true. But the mere fact that he had to take it a step further and ask God to intervene and open his eyes to see is an indication that the servant didn't believe him. And there's times in our lives where it could be us, or it might be us, like Elijah trying to tell somebody else, but let's talk about us. There's times in our life where the preacher on Sunday can tell you. He can show you in the Word. He can tell you what the Word says, what God is saying. And some of us aren't convinced just by hearing.
That's right. You're right. You're right.
Some of us are like Thomas. We want to. I need to see his hands. Remember when Jesus revealed himself to Thomas after he had was resurrected? And Thomas even said, I ain't going to believe it. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. Some of us are Thomas. There's times in our lives where we're in a church where the pastor will cast a vision, but just because you can't
see it. That's right.
doesn't mean that God isn't in it.
That's right.
But here's the thing, and this is for leaders, and myself included. Sometimes what we have to do, instead of getting getting mad, because he didn't get mad because the servant didn't believe it. He stopped talking to the servant and started talking to the Lord.
Lord.
There's going to be times in our lives, parents, where, especially when we're dealing with grown children. See, when the children is little, whatever, we can kind of control them a little bit. But when they get 18 and up, and especially if they don't live with you, they hard-headed. They don't like to listen. And sometimes when you're trying to tell them stuff and trying to guide them in the right way, and you're sharing and you're telling them, sometimes they ain't going to go for it. They're not going to listen to you. And that's when you have to shut your mouth and start talking to God about it. Lord, show them. Open their eyes, Lord, because right now they're blind. They can't see it. Open their eyes. And for leaders in churches, if you're some of the people in your church don't want to get on board and you know that you clearly have heard from God, quit talking to them and start talking to God. Ask God to reveal it. That's a word for somebody tonight. And we've been on both sides of this coin. We've been the Elijah, where we try to tell people and try to show them and try to convince, because really what we're doing is trying to convince them. But when people ain't trying to hear us, or we can't get through to them, that's when it's time to shut it down. Whether it's your spouse, some of us been talking to that spouse the same stuff over and over again, They're not hearing you. They're not receiving you. Talk to God about it. So many times we try over and over to convince some people to see things the way that we see it. To see it from our perspective. And when we're met with resistance, I can see you tell them once, and maybe even twice. But if you on your 5th time and you still sitting there and it's 5 hours and gone by and you still on that same particular conversation and it's not going nowhere,
Leave it alone.
you got to move the conversation from here
Right.
to here.
That's right.
And guess what? Any questions? And so guess what? It says that Elijah prayed and said to the Lord, I pray, open his eyes that he may see. And the Lord did just that. He opened his eyes. Look at it. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elijah. Sometimes the reason why we are still stuck on that same conversation that ain't going nowhere is because we are talking to the wrong one. Stop talking. Take it to God. Let God do the opening of the eyes. Let God do the convincing. Let God reveal to whomever what God needs to reveal. Sometimes it's not your job. You are not the Holy Spirit. There was nothing that Elisha could do to convince him otherwise. God had to open his eyes. It didn't say Elijah opened his eyes. It said God. And when God did it, he then was able to see exactly what Elijah was seeing, which put them now on one accord. Because it wasn't like, well, I don't see it. Well, I see it. I don't see it. I don't see how we're going to do it. I see how we're going to do it. That sounds like somebody's household. Well, I don't see how this is going to work. Well, it's going to work if you do it this way. I don't think it's going to work like that. But when you come to one, when you unify yourself and you're on one accord, do you know how much you can get done? And so, he saw, because God opened his eyes and he was able to see the same perspective that Elijah was seeing, because God had already revealed it to him. Because how he was trying to share with him, there's more with us than with them. But again, servant couldn't see it like that, but now he sees it. And so, we're talking about the right response to trouble. But here's another thing that I want us to kind of look at tonight. Here's what I want us to look at is after the eyes were open, the trouble was coming down to Elijah now. And when the trouble was coming, Elijah prayed again and asked the Lord to smite them with blindness, and the Lord did. And it wasn't a blindness to where they couldn't see, like they were seeing black. They just couldn't. They were blinded enough to where they didn't recognize who Elijah was. Okay, because if you're blind, you're not going to be able to navigate anything. And so most scholars believe that it was just enough to kind of cause them not to be able to recognize who Elijah was, because who was they after? Elijah. So he's like, Lord, smite with blindness. And what he did was it was real gangster what he did. He led them, he basically deceived them and led them and made them believe that he was leading them to, Elijah was making them think he was leading them to Elijah. And he led them to Samaria, really was a setup. And then he asked, after they got to Samaria, he asked the Lord to now open their eyes. It would be like, who we beefing with? Iran? That would be, okay, it would be like, I don't know. It would be like our military being guided into Iran, like where their military camp is set up, unbeknownst to them. And then once they get there, open their eyes, Lord, and you surrounded by another military. I mean, that ain't cool, right? That would be like so scary. So they did that. And so the king, after he led them to Samaria, the king was like, yo, yeah, should I kill him? He kept asking, shall I kill him? Let's look at it. Shall I kill him? Said Jesus. He says, look at verse 18, and when they came down to him, Elijah prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness according to the word of Elijah. And Elijah said unto them, this is not the way. That's when he was leading them into Samaria. And then after the Lord opened their eyes, look at verse 21. And after the Lord opened their eyes, they were in the midst of Samaria. And then verse 21, and the king of Israel said unto Elijah, when he saw them, my father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? In other words, shall I kill them? And so he responded, Elijah is responding to the same trouble, again, this trouble that came to destroy him. He responded and said, look at it.
Don't strip.
And he answered, thou shalt not smite them. Wilt thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink and go to their master. So here's another answer to trouble. Again, this is trouble that he didn't invite. This was trouble that he didn't start nothing with them or anything like that. But what his response again to this trouble was, he's like, no, we're not going to do to them what they would have done to us. Because the king was on ready. He was like, shall we smite him? Shall we smite him? He's like, nope. He said, nope.
Don't strike them down.
Don't strike him.
That's right.
And if I was the king back then, I would have been like, I don't even think I would have asked Elijah. And I would have put it on God, like, oh, look what the Lord has done. He has delivered him. But I mean, when David was on the run before he was anointed king, but he wasn't in the position of king yet. King Saul was still alive. Remember, he was chasing him around trying to kill him. And every opportunity that David had to destroy him, he didn't. David was always trying to be good to Saul. He was always trying to reason, like, why are you chasing me? Why are you, why do you keep, because I ain't gonna hold you. I was so mad the other day because I was thinking about David, and I was like, David, Saul didn't like you. But you always wanted to be good to him. But David, Saul didn't like you. No matter what you tried to do to prove yourself to him, no matter how nice you was, no matter how many battles you won for him, he did not like you. He was jealous of you. He was not your friend. He didn't like you. The relationship was one-sided. Because he really did like Saul, because even after Saul got killed, remember he did a song. And they was lamenting and all, and I would have been like, can I just be, I would have been. Somebody that's been chasing you around for years, trying to kill you, has now, you didn't do it, but has lost their life. I would have been saying something like, reap what you're sowing. But here in the text, and through the example of David, and through the life of Jesus, you aren't supposed to return evil for evil.
Never.
But it's hard because I be wanting to.
Yeah, but you can, because it'll come back.
He says, no. But I wonder if the conversation would have went like, but they came down here they started it with us. No. When David's men was like, we got him, we can do it. Touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. No. He's still he's the Lord's anointed. So he said,
I got a question. Can I get some food, please?
okay.
Yeah.
How y'all doing?
Good.
Wash your hands. Go wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Okay, wash your hands. There's literally hand sanitizer.
Wash your hands. Got some stuff over there washing. Wash them hands.
Okay, that's good. That's okay.
Literally hand sanitizer.
How y'all doing today?
Good.
Good. All right. And so he said, don't smite him. Don't do anything to him. Then, y'all ready for this? He said, put some food out for him.
Wow.
Peter.
Right. We talking about somebody that tried to destroy me, somebody that meant me harm, somebody that don't like me, somebody, if they had the chance, would have took me out. You want me to feed them?
I wouldn't.
You would? Oh. But I'm feeding you, right?
Well, I didn't try to kill you, did I?
All right.
All right. And all right. He gonna have to come back in here and sit down and listen to this lesson. When you go back out there, you tell your friend, this is what I want you to understand. When it comes to God and Christians, we do not repay evil for evil.
He wants to say, when it comes to Christians, you do not pay evil for evil.
No, we're always supposed to be good to those people. Even with your friends on the playground, when they're mean to you, don't be mean back to them.
Walk away.
There we go! Come give me a high five.
You got it. That's right. That's so sweet.
What you supposed to do? Walk away. That's right.
High five, you walk away.
Redeem yourself, didn't he?
He hungry.
And so, again, they said, put some food out. You see it? And he answered, thou shalt not smite them. Look at 22. And it says, set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and then go to their master. Not only are you not going to kill them,
send them back.
And then you're going to send them back home.
To the master.
We call that slap on the wrist, don't we? Because we would have, if we wouldn't have killed them, oh, y'all gonna get punished some kind of way. Right? We might not have, some of us might not have, oh, we're not gonna kill them, but they gonna serve some time. Or, you think I'm gonna give you something to eat? I might let you go, but you ain't getting none of my food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at all the steps. You're not gonna harm them. You're gonna feed them. That means you gotta come out of your pocket. It ain't something where you're gonna cook some dinners and you're gonna sell them to them. No, you're gonna feed them out of your pockets, off your table. You're gonna feed them, and then you're gonna send them back to their master. We're talking about trouble. We're talking about people that have come to do you harm. People who didn't mean you any good. People that caused you trouble. It's true for people in the church. But sometimes the church don't look no different than the world. We don't handle sin the correct way. We want to condemn somebody mess up. And don't let it be a pastor. Y'all hear about that pastor over at that such? Did y'all hear about that pastor? We so quick to say all this stuff about, oh, look at them and look how they fell and look how they sinned and all that. But what if we pulled your cover back? What if we opened up your curtain? What if we read your long resume of sin? Sometimes people can be doing the same thing. It's just that I got pregnant, you didn't. But then when I have to go before the church, you sitting there in the seat of judgment, knowing good and well you just got out, you left bro in the bed when you came to church. So sometimes what we do is we don't.
Can I get a water bottle, please?
You can.
Thank you.
We don't handle sin in the way that Jesus does.
And by the way, there's no more left.
There's no more left. That's good. That means it was good. Was it good? All right, come back to me next week.
Wait, what time you guys? Wait. Next week?
Bring your Bible next week, or I'll bring you a Bible. You're gonna sit with us.
I stayed with you guys before, but like I left soon.
You listen.
You
Okay.
guys had chicken wings.
We got chicken wings and that.
Is it hungry? Lucy?
That's my buddy. But anyway, what was I saying? We don't handle trouble or people who have been in trouble. We don't handle them well.
Well,
And that the church should be the safe haven.
that's true. That's true.
But we like to run it in the way that the world do. We like to condemn. We like to pull them out of the choir, take them out of this, sit them down, do this, put them over here in a corner. Don't let them do this. They're not. When Jesus was brought that woman, because I'm telling you, when I read that story again, that changed my whole outlook on how we deal with sin. He dealt with sin, but not in the way that we do. But some might say, oh, he just, no, he dealt with it. When they brought her to him, without the other dude. And that's another thing. Sometimes we handle women totally different than we would a man. We hold them at a different standard than men. It was two people that was caught in adultery, but they only brought the woman. And sometimes we let, in some of these churches, we let the men slide. But we frown upon the woman. Okay? But what Jesus did is he said, he who is without sin, because the law was that she would be stoned. That was the law of Moses. And that's what they wanted him to do. And he said, he who is without sin, because Jesus is always looking for a way to save us, to preserve us.
Yes.
Because notice when they brought her, he didn't immediately have a response like this. They said he wrote in the ground. And some preachers tell you what he wrote. I ain't seen it yet what he wrote. But I believe that what he was doing was trying to figure out, how can I save her? We look for, how can I punish her? How can I punish him? He looks for, how can I preserve them? How can I save them? And what he says, he who without sin cast the first stone. Because what Jesus understood is everybody that was gathered around there has some issues. She just happened to get caught in hers. But you's a perv, because in order to catch somebody having sex or committing adultery, you had to been looking with your looking self.
And probably been doing it too.
To me, you're guilty of porn, because anybody that's watching two people have sex, what is that? Is that porn? Okay. How did we get here, Miss Pauline? Let me go back in.
Girl, yeah.
But we don't deal with it the same way. He was looking on how he could restore her. He was looking on how he could save her. He could how he could preserve her life.
Right.
We looking for how we can kick him out, put him out. Don't let him come back here. We don't want your kind here. No. Put it on, tweet about it. Put it on Facebook. Tell the whole world about it. So then, when her accusers was gone, then he turned to her privately. There was no audience. He looked to her privately and says, "Where are your accusers?" She said, "There is none." And then he says, "You're free to go. Sin no more." He dealt with it. But far too often, we be wanting to be the Holy Spirit deputy, sheriff. Pick me. I'll go after him. I'll get him in trouble. No. That's what it is. So how do you respond to trouble? Calmly. You respond to trouble by always being in communication with God. We respond to trouble by not repaying trouble with trouble. Alright? We don't repay evil with evil. Any questions?